Randall, if you would please call the roll.
Okay. Judge Brent, is he here? Let's see. Joe Robinson, Mayor Bedford. We got Shelbyville Mayor David Eaton. Let's see. Judge Riley is here. Trumbull County Judge Pollock's here. Jim Travis is here. So then we're waiting on, I think that's about it. So
All right.
Judge Summers, you can be our fourth if you want to.
I will be. That'd be
All right,
fine.
sounds good, Judge. Thanks.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. I'm gonna come up there and get one of them plate lunches though, because all we have is fast food and here, that's all.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of home cooking up here, one way or the other. Well, two. We have two.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll see you when it warms up.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I might even pick up Judge Riley on the way up.
There you go.
So Elizabeth, can you share that agenda real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the November meeting.
Yeah, we need a motion and a second on that, Judge.
All right. We have a
And the
motion and a
August
second.
meeting. And also the August meeting minutes too, because we didn't have a quorum. So if you want to tie
Yeah.
those into together.
All right. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes from the, what'd you say, August and November
August.
meeting?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Judge. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Judge Summers.
You're
All
welcome.
right. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, looks like the motion carries. And next item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anybody who wants to make public comments?
No, Judge, I don't think we have any.
All right, and we'll move on to the county transportation updates. Judge Riley, you want to go first with Spencer County?
I'm happy to. Not a lot to report in Spencer County. We are, we dodged a bullet with snow removal a week or so ago, but we are scrambling, trying to meet some deadlines with some FEMA projects. So hopefully we can get those wrapped up before about the mid-March. And some of that's been going on now for over 3 years. So be glad to get those behind us. So other than that, I have nothing else to report.
All right. Well, thank you, Judge. Judge Summers, you want to give us an update on Bullitt County?
Yes, sir, Todd, I sure can. If you have a tree trimming business in Bullitt County, you're out of business after the December
Tornadoes.
Storm that we had as a result of the tornadoes from Western Kentucky. And our state barn, they had COVID. So we picked up the slack for them transportation wise during the snowstorm. We were a little bit late on the first one because we wasn't aware that they had COVID and they weren't going to be out. But we picked up the second time, it wasn't an issue for us. And that's a little bit of where we're at, Todd. I don't know how much more you want in detail. We've got 6 major water projects going on related to the ARPA funding that we're releasing bids, and also our broadband for 4 areas in our community: Browning Town, Cedar Grove Road, Zonton, and Solitude. These areas will never have the opportunity for not only broadband, but fiber optic as well. And we're doing that through our ARPA funding.
That's awesome.
And that's about it in the 2-minute
right.
clip here. Okay.
Well, you're going to do much better than me. we are still waiting on a tandem dump truck that we ordered last spring. And yeah, we need trucks. The ones we have are rusted out, and so we're trying to get more and get some new ones. Thank God we missed that snow that they were predicting, and we got really lucky out here. And just working on basic road maintenance. Yeah, little by little. I got a project that I need to get going. It's a bridge project, and Randall, I'll ask you to assist me with this one. And that's about it for Trimble County. All right, and nope, we don't have anybody from Henry County, do we?
No, sir.
Anybody from Shelby?
We
No.
don't have anybody from Shelby, no.
All right, I like that mustache, Randall. All
I'm
right, and
trying to be like you, Judge.
oh, there you go. That's right. Well, you need to grow a soul patch too, All right, we'll move on to the Kentuckians for Better Transportation update.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of talk to you about the Kentuckians for it. They didn't have any articles on the update, but I attended the Kentuckians for Better Transportation Conference last week at the Galt House. There was 5 area development districts with me. And so we heard a session from Jacob Huber and Patty Dunaway on the statewide long range transportation plan and survey. They did a great job on that. Heard from the federal deputy highway engineer from Federal Highway, Stephanie Pollock, and she talked about the $1 trillion infrastructure bill. Kentucky is going to be receiving $4.7 billion over the next 5 years to invest in roads, bridges, and broadband. There's also grants that will be in this infrastructure bill. And when I have local meetings with you guys, we'll talk more in depth about those grants that maybe we can apply for some transportation dollars for those. James Ballinger talked about the $8.5 billion recommended state highway plan. I sent that link out to you guys on your projects. Also, Governor Beshear talked about the West Kentucky tornado down in Mayfield and Dawson Springs. He also talked about the economic investments of Ford Battery Park there in Glendale that's going to bring in 5,000 jobs and $5.8 billion in economic impact to central Kentucky. And then also Beshear talked about the infrastructure bill and also the mega projects for the state that they're looking at I-69 bridge in Henderson, the Brent Spence Bridge, and the Mountain Parkway extension in Eastern Kentucky. And also Mitch McConnell was there, and he also talked about the infrastructure bill. So that's all I have on that, Judge. You're on mute. You're on mute, Judge.
Yeah, thank you for that, Randall. Does anybody have anything they want to add to it? I'll tell you something about this Kentuckians for Better Transportation. I reached out to one of their people because, out here, well, I think all the counties, I don't know, I'm going to speak for Trimble. We have trouble getting CDL drivers to work for us at the road department. Mm-hmm. We have, we pay a low wage, and as I'm sure a lot of counties in Kentucky do. And, farmers get exemptions about no CDL, driving if they're so close to their home or whatever. So what I was wondering with KBT is about lobbying, and I've mentioned this to our state representative, for some kind of law to let counties, especially these small rural counties like Trimble, Spencer, Gary, you got more than we do, but if we could get an exemption that we could get guys that, to drive these trucks without requiring the CDL.
Right.
Have you heard that from anybody else, Randall?
I've actually heard that from, a couple of people out throughout the state and everything too, from some of the other ads as well. But I think that, yeah, that would be something to look into. Maybe get some legislation on that or something.
Absolutely. Well, that's what it's going to take. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to take. And either that or we're going to be, pushing snow with small trucks.
Right.
And that, that's the flip side of it.
Well, and
All
I know
right.
that Hardin County, Bo Martin, he's on here from the Lincoln Trail ad.
Mhm.
And they've been having problems getting drivers for snow and ice when they had to reach out to volunteers and
Contract.
everything. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're having a problem down there too. So
Well, if we would have had much of a snow a couple weeks ago, yeah, we'd have been looking for help.
yeah.
We'd have had every tractor out there.
Go ahead, Judge.
Yeah, Todd, one of the things that you may or may not be aware of, one thing we did, we went to some of the smaller trucks, F-550s.
Right.
Of course, we've got a lot of subdivisions over here, and they're first of all, it's not required to have a CDL.
Right.
But also they're a little smaller. You can't carry as much, cinders in our case or salt, but they're a lot quicker and a lot more nimble in getting in and out of some of these roads. So the F-550s, I would encourage you to maybe take a look at that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We just put out a bid for to buy 2 F-550s or RFP for them. So yeah, hopefully we'll get that back because I don't see us ever being able to compete with private companies, paying CDL drivers. I just don't see it, but I don't know. You never know.
Those should be on the master agreement with the state too. So.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would speed things up quite a bit.
Sometimes you can get a better deal than the master agreement price, but at the same time, it does save you the time of having to bid it and all that. So
Right.
just cite the master agreement.
That'll work. Well, thank you, Judge. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, guys. Moving on down the agenda is the presentation of the KYTC bike and pedestrian planning. Randall?
Yeah, thanks, Judge. I have Mr. Keith Lovin. He's the bike pedestrian coordinator, and he's going to talk to us about what he does at the cabinet. And he's got a PowerPoint presentation on that, talking about bike and pedestrian planning. So Keith, you take it away. Is she going to operate the slides or Elizabeth, you're on mute. Can you operate the slides?
Yes. Are you seeing it right now? Just the one slide? Okay.
Mhm.
I got it.
Okay.
Hopefully, let me scroll. Did it work?
Yep.
Okay, I gotcha.
All right, this is where I'll start. Go ahead and go to that next one, who we are. Well, I wanted to thank you all for inviting me to this meeting. I am Keith Lovin. I am an engineer. I worked for the city of Lexington for about 22 years and retired. And this position with the transportation cabinet came open, and I'm a big bike and pedestrian advocate. I was able to do a lot of things in Lexington as far as building trails and making Lexington more bike ped friendly. And so I saw this opportunity to go to work for the transportation cabinet and to actually see if I can make some improvements across the state. And I'm very excited about this new position. And I just wanted to introduce you all to what type of work the transportation cabinet does and how we can help various communities across the state. I am in the division of planning, and I am working under Mikhail Pelfrey, who is the director, and Scott Thompson. And both of those guys have been in their positions a little over a year. So we're really sort of got some fresh ideas and stuff about what we can do to make Kentucky more bike and pedestrian friendly. We work under John Moore, who is the state highway engineer, and he's been very supportive. And so I see a huge opportunity in Kentucky to make a lot of improvements along that mode share. And I just wanted to bring your attention to other offices that are dealing with bike and pedestrian issues. Within the Office of Highway Safety, we have, actually, they're going to be hiring a vulnerable road user, which is going to be looking at trying to reduce the number of crashes and fatalities that are classified as a vulnerable road user, which is basically pedestrians, cyclists, anyone not in a vehicle. Kentucky, unfortunately, has a high percentage of fatalities that are related to both bicycle crashes and pedestrian crashes. And then we've got two agencies that deal with funding. I'm not sure if you've heard of the TAP funding and CMAQ funding and the Recreational Trails Program, but they are located in the Office of Local Programs and in the Department of Local Governments. And as Randall mentioned, with the infrastructure bill, there's going to be more emphasis and more money on bike and ped projects across the state. And I think we're going to be in a position to take advantage of that. There will be competitive grants. And so I'm trying to reach out to various counties and communities to help them get good applications submitted, show them what needs to be in those applications, and basically help award the funding that's needed across the state. And then we've actually got a memorandum of agreement with the Cabinet of Health and Family Services. Troy Hearn, who used to be the bike pedestrian coordinator for the cabinet, he moved over to the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and he's going to be working on bike ped issues from an active living standpoint, recognizing that the more people are active, the healthier they are. And so he's going to be continuing his work in the bike ped field, but he's going to do it from a health perspective versus a transportation perspective. Okay, next slide. We've got a website with a lot of information on it. I wanted to make you aware of that. It's called Bike Walk Kentucky. As part of my duties, I am the liaison between the Kentucky Bicycle and Bikeway Commission and the Transportation Cabinet. This commission is made up of 6 members that were appointed by the governor, and they serve as an advisory committee to the Transportation Cabinet. Basically, if they see something that needs to be addressed from a transportation aspect, they will work with my office, and we will see what we can do. They also administer the Paul and I grants, and I'll talk a little bit more about those later. We have an inventory of all bike and pedestrian facilities across the state. And I am discovering that we don't have all of them in our inventory. So I'm working with the ads to get the data that we need. And we're trying to develop a trail map for the state, as well as just identify all the sidewalks across the state in all the communities, counties, and cities. And we're also identifying bike facilities such as bike lanes and other types of bike facilities. So we'll have that on a database, and that's going to be available for people to use. And then we have a lot of other resources. If you want to do a master plan for bike and peds use, this page will show you how to do that. And then we have, actually Kentucky has 5 US bike routes, and we have the map of those bike routes. These are routes across the state that are been signed and marked as being, basically they're just having, they've been identified as being safe for cyclists, and is part of a bigger network across the nation, and it's promoted by the Adventure Cycling group. And then there's a lot of safety and technical information on there as well, and just so feel free to check out our website. Next slide. Some of the projects that I'm working on that you might be interested in is we've got an ADA implementation project. We got $4 million to improve all of our intersections to make them ADA compliant. We are Actually, they have surveyed all the state highways across the state and identified intersections that don't have handicap ramps or don't have ped buttons, crosswalks. And we've created a list, and now we're prioritizing that list, and we're going to make improvements to these intersections. We're going to spend about $1 million per year. Currently, we're working in Highway District 5, which is in Eastern Kentucky, or I'm sorry, in Louisville, Frankfurt area, and in District 10, which is located in Eastern Kentucky. So you should be seeing some intersection improvements, sidewalk improvements this year in those two areas. We're doing a case study of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure in smaller towns. We looked at Mayfield, Moorhead, and it's just identifying the impact of these facilities are having on those communities. And actually they're doing a presentation today, and we should have a final report on what those improvements have done for those communities, and that'll be available for anybody to look at. The big thing that I'm going to be working on this year is doing a complete streets policy for the state. The last bike ped policy that we had was issued in 2002, so it's about 20 years old. And so I'm going to be working with the consultant on implementing this complete streets policy, which is going to be critical to have with this new infrastructure bill. There's going to be a huge emphasis on making our streets compatible for all users, not just the cars. We're going to be looking at transit. We're going to be looking at bike and ped issues. And so we're going to give the highway district engineers basically a manual on how to design streets to where that they are compatible for all modes. And so that's going to be a big improvement as far as what you see when new roads are built. So that's something that's going to be different. Then we're also working on the NHTSA, the National Highway Transportation Safety Association, is doing an assessment of all of our bike and pedestrian programs. They're going to look at our strengths and our weaknesses, and the goal is just to reduce the number of crashes and accidents related to bike and pedestrian. This is going to be a program that's going to be ongoing for the next 3 or 4 months, and we'll have a report where we can make improvements and what we need to do to improve the safety. We're doing a research study in conjunction with the University of Kentucky and the Kentucky Transportation Center. Currently, there is not a mechanism in place that's counting our bike and ped usage. We know they're out there, we just don't have the data. And so both the university and this transportation center is developing means, generally using cell phone data. There's some software out there that captures bike and ped usage, such as Strava. And so we're going to have a mechanism to do these pedestrian and bicycle counts that will help us in planning our roads in the future. Then we have a vulnerable road user task force that is looking at reducing the number of fatalities related to bikes and pedestrians. And then I think even Randall mentioned the long range surface transportation plan. This is a plan for transportation from 2022 to 2045. And it just looks how the Kentucky is going to build our new infrastructure for the next 20, 25 years. So those are the major projects that I'm working on. Next slide. Go ahead and hit it again. The Apollo 9 grant, I mentioned those. That is a program that generates funds through the sale of the Share the Road plates. Last year, the cabinet received $84,000, and they distributed about 14 grants to various organizations across the state geared toward bike education. Generally, it's anywhere from $75,000 to $85,000 a year that's generated, and this is determined by the Kentucky Bicycle and Bikeway Commission. It's a very good program. It's geared toward just educating people for the proper usage of a bike, rules of the road, and it funds a lot of, actually it funds some mountain bike clubs in schools. And it's an ongoing program that we hope to see grow. We're promoting the sale of these license plates because for every license plate, the commission gets $10. Next slide. I just wanted to give you a little bit of numbers about where we are. Kentucky has 213 miles of shared use trails. We have 83 miles of rail trails across the state. That's actually a very, very low number compared to our surrounding states. Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, they have hundreds of miles. I think West Virginia's got over 500 miles of rail trails. And so I'm hoping to improve that because it's a very easy way to get a trail into a community because there's very little amount of excavation that's needed because it's basically there. We just need to put some sort of a surface on it. The biggest problem that we have with rail trail development is trying to get the rights to build it. Most of the abandoned rail lines have been reverted to the adjacent property owner. So getting permission to use that property as a rail trail has been problematic. But we're hoping to, if we can rail bank these lines, then that will make it much easier to acquire the right of way to do the construction. I mentioned the US bike routes earlier. We have 922 miles. Actually, Kentucky ranks 5th in the country for the number of bike route miles. We just recently signed US Bike Route 21, which goes from Maysville to Cumberland Gap. And then we have 307 bike lane miles. I think that number is very low, so I'm reaching out to try to get more information on that. For a total of 1,500 miles, a little over 1,500 miles of bike facilities across the state. And we are actively encouraging communities to get bike and pedestrian master plans. Currently 80 either cities or counties have them, and then we've got 10 that are expected to be approved this year. And so it's a good planning document that if a community wants to have a facility, they can get it in that document. Then whenever the transportation cabinet wants to widen a road or improve a road, and it's been noted that there needs to be a bike facility, then the cabinet will be, it will be easier for the cabinet to go ahead and include that facility in their construction. Okay, next slide. I wanted to just talk to you about the League of American Bicycling rankings. Communities that are walkable and bike friendly are always in the list of top 10 cities, where the top 10 cities to live, to do business in. So I'm going to be encouraging communities to apply for bike friendly status. Kentucky itself ranks 43rd in the nation, which is not a very good ranking. And so I'm hoping to improve that ranking. We've got 2 communities, Louisville and Lexington, that Louisville's got a silver recognition and Lexington's got bronze. I know Bowling Green's going to be applying, Frankfurt's going to be applying this year. And so I'm working with a lot of other communities to try to get them to apply for bike friendly status. We've got 4 universities that have a bike friendly status. We've got 9 businesses across the state that have bike friendly businesses. This is the program put on by the League of American Bicyclists. And so I'm going to be promoting that and asking communities to participate. Next slide. With these rankings, they grade you. They tell you why you got the classification that you did. And those grades are what Kentucky's doing. You see they're all C's and D's. And with the scorecard, they give you actions that you can take to make those improvements. And so I've listed those improvements, and one of which is to develop a complete street policy. And so that is going to be done. I've gotten the authorization from the director as well as the state highway engineers to go ahead and complete a complete street policies by the end of 2022. We are already doing the NHTSA assessment for bike and ped safety. There's a new nonprofit in the state called Bike Walk Kentucky. I'll be working very closely with them. And they're going to be just advocates to make more improvements across the state. There's going to be increased funding for projects, bike and ped related projects. We're going to be having training that's going to be associated with this complete street policy, and be training our highway engineers on how to design streets that accommodate bikes and pedestrians. And I've discussed the increasing the data collection. There's a bill now in the Kentucky legislature to allow for photo enforcement. That is something that would encourage or make it safer for bikes and pedestrians if there's cameras on the signals that can document what has happened. And then we're just wanting to improve our mode share for bikes and pedestrians. And that's just through education and building facilities. Next slide. This is the list of the US bike routes. It's on our website. Like I said, we've got 5, 3 of them have been AASHTO approved, and the other 2, which is 21, 23, and 76. And the other 2, the Underground Railroad and the Rambling River Tour, those have been, the corridors have been identified, but specific routes have not been selected. So we're working on getting those routes selected. And then there's interest in developing 2 more routes, the John Muir bike route and the US 62, which is an east-west route. Like I said, Kentucky actually does really well in the number of bike route miles at 922. Next slide. I just wanted to talk a little bit about why we need a complete street policy. The philosophy for a long time has just been car-centric. It's just to design the roads to move traffic as efficiently and as quickly as possible, not acknowledging that there's a need for pedestrians and or cyclists. They're out there, they're using our facilities. In a lot of cases, it's very dangerous, as you can see in this picture. This is a railroad overpass in Lexington. It's a major corridor. And you can even see the goat path of where there's a lot of pedestrians, and they have to get into the traffic to get past that bridge. And so actually that project is on the list for improvement. They're going to be widening the bridge. That's just one example of where we don't have the appropriate facility. Next slide. And this is a road that was basically over-designed. It was constructed by developers. It's in a residential neighborhood. They designed it 36 feet wide. It has a collector street or classification. It is just not appropriate. There's no reason for a road to be that wide in a residential area. So we'll have standards that will state, how wide roads need to be, the width, and look at land use around it, and is this an appropriate design for this facility? So I just wanted to give you that example. Next slide. And there's a lot of roads across the state, major roads, that don't have sidewalks. And so there's no reason why we shouldn't be building a sidewalk when we make improvements to a road. This is Tate's Creek in Lexington, and the shoulder was constructed to where a sidewalk could be built, but they never did build the sidewalk. And so in about 5 years ago, there was a project to build the sidewalks. It was a $2 million project to put sidewalks along the entire Tate's Creek corridor for about 1.5 miles. And believe it or not, there was a lot of opposition to constructing a sidewalk. State owned the right of way, but the residents just did not want the sidewalks. We were able to successfully complete it just through the determination of the people that used the sidewalks. The people that lived on the corridor didn't want it. They didn't want to have to deal with the maintenance of it. They didn't think that it was appropriate. And we were able to successfully get it constructed, and it is used continuously. So there was obviously a need for the sidewalk. Next slide. And this is just an example of where there's bikers on the road, but there's no safe facility for them to ride. So we will be, and there's plenty of width there for a bike lane to be added. It just was never considered. We're hoping with the complete street policy that it will be considered. If there's not a need, then there won't be one built, but obviously there's a need at this location, and it just was not done. Next slide. I did wanted to promote some of our more significant projects across the state. There's a Legacy Trail in the Town Branch Commons. It's a 22-mile trail section that is downtown. It connects major parts of the downtown. The Town Branch section along Vine Street is under construction. It should be completed at the end of this year. Once that's completed, they'll have a complete 22-mile trail system. The Louisville Loop is a 100-mile proposed trail. A big portion of that is constructed. There's a rail trail in Eastern Kentucky. It's the Dawkins Rail Trail. It's a beautiful trail. It's a 34-mile trail. And it's a rail trail, and it is changing the area. There's a little town called Royalton. It's a trailhead. They're building parking lots because of the number of people that are coming to that area of the state is growing yearly. They hope to have horse stables because a lot of people are coming in with the horses. They've had to expand their parking lot because of the trailers and stuff. They're seeing bed and breakfasts open up. And eventually I feel like that the community of Royalton is really changing because there's more tourism coming in. Prestonsburg developed the Prestonsburg Passage. The mayor there, Les Stapleton, was able to find funding to build an 8-mile trail, and he's constructed this trail from downtown Prestonsburg, and he's going toward the Dawkins Rail Trail. So he's wanting to tie in those two trails together. The mayor there sees active transportation is critical to his economic development plan. He sees a lot of activity associated around bikes and pedestrians. He's promoting the mountain bike trail within Jeannie Wiley. And he's been a strong advocate for making sure that more activities are available for the citizens of Prestonsburg and Floyd County. And then one of the first rail trail projects in the state was the Muhlenberg Rail Trail. It's a 6-mile trail that connects Greenville to Central City. Next slide. And these are just, go ahead and slide through these. These are just pictures of each of those projects that I was talking about. That's the map. Okay. That stop on the Prestonsburg one. That is a old school bus, and the mayor actually submitted it for an award, most unique bridge, pedestrian bridge, and he actually won an award for that bridge, where he just took a school bus, cut it in half, and put it on top of the frame for that bridge over a creek. So he's very excited about that. It's pretty cool. It's unique, and that's what makes trails so nice. It's just, having something like that for people to talk about and to experience. So, and the reason why we're doing all this is for these reasons: sustainability, quality of life. A lot of positives, very little negatives on doing these types of projects. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this job, is because it's just improving life for Kentuckians, and I'm just passionate about it, and I want to see more of these types of facilities across the state. And with things falling in place the way they are, I think that we can make that happen. So that's all my presentation. I guess we can take questions. Okay.
Thank you for that,
Got any
Kevin.
questions?
Thank you for that presentation, Kevin. That was pretty good. There's, we have a place out here in Bedford, a little stretch of highway, about a half a mile's worth, that we need a sidewalk bad. And it's just going to be, it's in such a place that is going to be very complicated to get it done. But it's where the sidewalk ends, and then taking it to our high school, junior and senior high school. And boy, I'll tell you, that's a project that I would sure love to see come happen. And with all this extra funding coming around, maybe so.
work with your ad and try to get an estimate. See if you can find a local engineer that can give you an estimate. What's the difficulty? Is it the right of way or?
Probably. It's in the city limits, so it's not, the county doesn't have any say on it, but in the city limits. And yeah, and there's some folks through there that don't want the sidewalk running through their property. They'd rather see, people walking out on Highway 421 than to have them walk through their yard.
I could understand that.
Yep.
But I'm sure there's a need, and there's probably
sure.
a lot of people who would use it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anybody else have
touch
anything?
base with me, and I might be able to help you.
Okay. Well, good deal. Well, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that.
All right,
All right.
Judge, no, we're getting close to the board meeting time.
Yeah. Do we have any other regional transportation council membership list? Is that the other business, Randall?
Yeah, I'll send that out, but also the recommended highway plan has come out, and
Okay.
Judge, up there in your area, those turn lanes on 421 and 1226 is on there. This is just the recommended highway plan. And in Spencer County, the 2+1, Judge Riley, that's also on there, and 44 project there out there by Dutchman's Creek is on there. And then Judge Summers, 44, Shepherdsville and Mount Washington is on there also. So anyways, they've kind of split the recommended highway plan up, where it's at the beginning is more of the maintenance paving projects, and then the projects that we prioritized and shift, as you guys know, those are in the second list. So the approval of the highway plan will come out around April or May. So if you guys look at those project listings and see something, get with your state representatives if you don't see any. So that's all I had on the recommended highway plan. And our Judge, our next meeting is
March
March
25th.
24th. I'm sorry, I put 25th on there, but it's 24th. It's that fourth Thursday in March. So, and Judge, that's all I have. So.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge. All right. Do we have a second?